now that he would much rather forget. Kara had withdrawn into the void, that meditative state in which one feels no emotions, as an antidote to a magical curse she had endured. What had been intended as a useful skill in a crisis situation was now revealing itself to be an invisible prison. The warrior was trapped in the void, unable or unwilling to escape, and consequently she was as cold as ice towards all other living creatures. It wasn't that she had been hurtful or hostile. She still knew her friends from her enemies, but all her actions now betrayed an unfeeling sobriety which was quite hard to bear, especially if you were her partner. "If we're a couple at all any more," thought Ahren bitterly.
"Would you stop your self-pitying?" growled Cullen. "Learn from her example and do a bit of training instead. That will distract you."
Ahren nodded weakly. He was in top-notch condition, for he had indeed been doing little else than improving his physical skills in an effort to overcome his worries and fears, and it also gave him a chance to think. He had come up with a space-saving training regime which he rigorously implemented within the narrow confines of the ship. Yet he yearned for a run in the forest, with Cullen by his side, the trees rustling above and around them, and the gentle contact with the undergrowth which would caress man and wolf, skillfully weaving their way through it. If Ahren was honest with himself, all he wanted to do was to get away from this ship, away from his doubts and fears, away from the pitiful looks of the crew, away from Kara. He shuddered at the thought of it, and Cullen stood up to press his head in close to his master.
"I understand you," said the wolf, to Ahren's surprise. "During a fight, there are only two options, fight or flight. You can't fight Kara in her present condition, and so you want to escape."
Ahren couldn't help but smile. Cullen's psyche was still that of a wolf, but he was much too clever than was good for such a vain animal. He always came up with the simplest pearls of wisdom in tricky situations, and the young paladin was certain that his four-legged friend's voice, which he could hear in his own head, had saved him from making a fool of himself on more than one occasion.
"You're not going to make an idiot of yourself again now, are you?" teased Cullen, jostling up against Ahren playfully. "I really couldn't bear it."
Ahren tousled the top of the animal's head, which led to a contented growl. "Here's a suggestion," said the young man. "I'll wear myself out to the point of not being able to lift my arms, and then we'll go and ask the others if there's any news." Cullen sat back on his hind legs. His mouth was open, and he was panting with his wolf's smile.
"I'm sure Aldini will be delighted when you ask him the same question for the 4th time today."
The sun was already touching the horizon behind the thick blanket of cloud when Ahren, soaked through with rain and sweat, went below deck to put on fresh clothes and to see how his friends were getting on. Their communal cabin was sticky and over-full. 4 figures were huddled around the solitary table, their heads leaning inward in a conspiratorial manner. They looked up as he and Cullen entered, and Ahren couldn't help but smile at the motley group before him. There was Falk, of course, his erstwhile master and mentor, whose weather-beaten face looked as serious as ever beneath his closely cropped grey hair. In glowing counterpoint, beside him, the red-headed elf Gelmin Nolan beamed at Ahren, her bluish-green dress shimmering in the dim cabin light. Aldini, in the figure of a dark-skinned boy of 9 summers or so, was scowling. The arch-wizard was doubtless anticipating yet another request for news from Ahren. Fisker, the ever-young paladin with locks of blonde hair, whom they had only recently freed from the throes of a dramatic love